Namaskar, I Dr. Satish Gaikwad welcomes all the listeners to have a brief discussion on the sampling techniques in the research. So, research is a very uh, difficult aspect to go ahead when it comes to the sampling. Whenever a researcher may be conducting research, he or she may be having a large pool of population of study to cover, which may be posing lot of challenges and difficulties. The survey methods may pose the challenge of consuming a lot of time, and this may be costing a lot. To overcome such time consuming and cost cost consuming efforts, there are so many scientific standard established methods through which a researcher may select a particular set of population for the study, and with minimum error of the margin in the population selection, sample selection errors. To reduce the sample selection errors, there are standardized methods through which the researcher may select the sample with their standard acceptability in representing the general population. Such type of method is called sampling technique. In sampling technique, let us see, when we are talking about a population, what is a population in sampling? A population is all members that meet a set of specifications or specified criteria, or the entire group of people, object, or events which a researcher may want to study. And in that particular population, as I said, a researcher, when he or she wants to conduct a research, it is very huge task or humongous task for a researcher to cover a entire population of the study. For example, if we talk about our own country, India, if you represent a particular study for entire population of India, it is really homogeneous task. It is literally impossible task. A researcher can conduct a research on entire population of India and bring a outcome timely manner and in cost effective manner. So to bring the outcome of a research in timely manner and in cost effective manner, there are sampling techniques. What is sampling? Sampling is nothing but selection of a portion of a group of population, the population of the desired research work. The researcher may be having a desired population. From that, a set of population is selected, that is nothing but a portion of the element is selected. A portion of the population or events or a portion of the particular items may be selected, or a portion of the objects may be selected. If I give an example, you may be desired to purchase a huge amount of rice, but you may be having concern about the quality of the rice. Then it is not practically viable to subject entire amount of the rice for the testing. There, what you will do, you will just select a portion of the rice and you subject that portion of the rice for testing. That portion itself is representing the entire quantity of the rice, whether the rice quality is good to be purchased or not. So that particular taking that portion of the rice is nothing but sampling. If I give another example, for example, we go for medical tests. We may be interested in knowing the blood sugar level of particular person or self blood sugar level. Then we are not going to entirely subject the blood of the particular person to the testing. Only a minimal amount of the blood sample will be collected, and that blood sample will be subjected for the testing for the blood sugar level. And when the report comes, that report is general to that particular person. This is the blood sugar level. This is nothing but sampling, taking a portion of the entire object, events or population. Now, there may be different types of the sampling methods. Basically, sampling method is categorized into two groups. One is probability sampling, which is called as random sampling method, and another is non-probability sampling, which is also called as non-random sampling method. Now, what is this random sampling method? Random sampling method is nothing but it is the chance method. Here, the total population is having each and every element of that population is having chance of probability of being selected in the final sampling. Means here the each and every element of that group is having the chance of representation in the final sampling. That's why it is the chance sampling. Here there is no choice sampling. The researcher is not having any predetermined choices that I am going to select this particular element only from this entire group of representative sample. He is deciding randomly. If there are 1000 numbers of elements of the sample, he is deciding randomly or she is deciding randomly X, Y, Z sample is subjected to the study. This is nothing but probability or randomized sampling. Now comes to the second method, which is called as non-probability or non-randomized sampling. Here it is not a chance system, it is choice based system. Here the researcher is having predetermined mindset that he or she is going to select particular set of the sample. For example, a researcher may be desired to work on the smokers. Then he or she only selecting a group of smokers only. Here the chance of representation is fixed. That's why this is called as non-randomized sampling method. Random sampling method, it is having advantages where the outcome of the research may be generalized. The outcome of the research may be precise. The outcome of the research may be statistically interfering. Now we will look into the types of the random or probability sampling methods. There are 4 types of probability sample methods: simple random sampling method, systematic random sampling method, stratified sampling method, clustered sampling method. Now what is simple random sampling method? Simple random sampling method is where a researcher is simply selecting out of 1000 elements, simply is randomly selecting X, Y, Z population element for and subjecting it to the study. That is simple method. And in systematic random sampling method, what researcher is doing means he is selecting the sample systematically. How? If the researcher is having 1000 elements or 1000 number of population of sample, then he may want to take 100 out of 1000 for his study or her study. Then how he will select? 1000 divided by 100 equals to 10, means randomly he will be selecting every 10th element of that population. first 10th number, then 20th, then 30th. Likewise, he may be selecting 100 elements from a particular 1000 number of population. That's why this is called as the systematic random sampling method. Now, what is the stratified sampling method? In stratified sampling method, the researcher may be having wide variety or wide group of population representations, where different elements will be having different characteristics. For example, male, female, employed, unemployed. From each group, randomly he or she may be selecting 10, 10, 10, and the whatever combined selected 100 numbers of population is there, that may be generally representing entire group of the population, which the outcomes may be generalized accordingly. That's why this is called as the stratified sampling method. Here, from various stratified groups, the random selection of the samples is done. Now, what is the cluster sampling method? Cluster sampling method is nothing but, this method is basically used where the group of study population is maybe huge. For example, a researcher may want to study the health and hygiene of the primary school going students of entire India. When we imagine that the researcher want to cover entire India, it is really a huge task and homogeneous task, where it may poses lot of difficulty, it may consume ample time, and it may cost a lot. To reduce the time consumption and to make the study cost effective, this type of studies are done, where the researcher may be deciding that he may be taking the representation from some different places, like he may be taking one representation from Delhi, one representation from Madhya Pradesh, one representation from Karnataka. Then what is happening means, these are nothing but the clusters of the population selection. From those clusters, he is selecting the sample, and based on the results of those samples, the outcome of the research may be represented, generalizing the entire population of the country. Now, what are the advantages of probability sampling methods? This is very important. The advantages of probability sampling method is, this sampling is representative to the entire population. This sample may be statistically analyzed because it is having statistical significance. The sample is precise and reliable. The results or the outcome of the sample may be generalized for the entire population, and there is a minimized bias in the selection of the sample. These are important characteristics of the probability sampling. Now, what are the types of non-probability sampling methods? There are 5 types of non-probability sampling methods: convenience sampling, consecutive sampling, quota sampling, purposive judgmental sampling, or another one is snowball sampling. Now, when we are talking about convenience sampling and consecutive sampling, both are same methods, where the researcher is selecting a readily available sample, easily accessible sample. For example, a researcher may be doctor working in a hospital and may want to study on the cancer patients which are admitted in that hospital. So, he or she is selecting a sample which is readily available in the hospital and easily accessible. This method is nothing but convenience sampling method or consecutive sampling method. But in consecutive sampling method, only thing is that the researcher is studying one element at a time, and after finishing the research on that entire work on that particular element, again shifting to next available element, and in the process he or she is finishing entire elements. He or she is covering entire samples which are available and accessible. Now coming to the quota sampling, the name itself suggests that it is quota method. A researcher may be having uh, male and female samples, but he or she may decide to take 45% of the sample from male group and 55% sample from the female group. It is based on the decision of the researcher as per the requirement of that research. That's why, as here the researcher is deciding the quota, that this percentage will be taken from this group and this percentage will be taken from this group. That's why it is called as the quota sampling method. Now coming to the another type of the non-probability sampling method, which is called as purposive or judgmental sampling. Here it is very simple. The researcher is having already a pre-decided sample that he or she want to study on this particular sample only. For example, as I already said, the researcher may want to study on the cancer patients, only cancer patients are selected. The researcher may want to study on the smokers, the only smokers, that too readily available, easily accessible population. From that population only the sample is taken by the researcher based on his or her own judgment. That's why it is called as purposive, because based on the purpose the sample is selected, based on the judgment of the researcher it is selected. Now coming to the another sampling method, non-probability sampling method, which is called as snowball sampling method. As the name itself suggests, if you throw a small snowball from the glacier, when it rolls at the downside, you may see by accumulating more snow to it, the size of the ball may increase. When it comes to the last end, the size of the ball may be maximum. It means that it is collecting the some more ice to it when it is rolling. Similar way, here what researcher does means, the researcher will select initially one sample. Any one person may be selected based on the desired study and whether that particular sample is fulfilling the eligibility criteria of that desired study. Then that particular sample or that particular case, he or she may be suggesting some other another name who may be eligible for this study and may give the proper inputs. Accordingly, the second may suggest third may suggest fourth. This is nothing but a chain reaction. This is also called as chain sampling method. Here the researcher accordingly selecting the sample and taking the data. Now the advantages of the non-probability sampling methods are, these are basically helpful in the generating of the new hypothesis, and basically this type of methods are used in the qualitative research, where the basic idea is to go into depth of the study and to understand the phenomena. Where the phenomena are studied in that type of studies, this type of non-probability sampling methods are used. These sampling methods are very convenient, very easy, readily available, easily accessible. But however, pragmatism, because these type of samplings are practical, not impractical. Now coming to the comparative statement, we may have a comparison with the these type of sampling methods, probability sampling method and non-probability sampling method. The selection of the method is probability sampling method. It is randomized. Non-probability sampling method. It is non-randomized method. When we talk about representativeness, the representativeness of the whole population is possible in the probability sampling method, where the results may be generalized for the entire population. But when it comes to the non-probability sampling method, it is not possible to generalize the entire outcome of the research. There may be limitations. When it comes to the precision and accuracy of the sampling, the probability sampling method has the precise and accurate estimates of the population's characteristics. However, when it comes to the non-probability sampling, they may have less precise and accuracy due to non-random sampling techniques. When it comes to the bias, 100% probability sampling method has the minimum selection bias, because here each and every element of the population has a chance to be represented in the final sampling. However, this do not hold true to the non-probability sampling method, where the samples are selected with predetermined mindset of the researcher. And when it comes to the statistical interference of the data of the sampling, definitely probability sampling method is having the suitability for statistical analysis. However, the non-probability sampling methods, they are less suitable for statistical analysis. When it comes to the application, probability sampling method, it is usually applicable in the qualitative research, where the results are generalized for the entire population. Whatever the selected population studied, and outcome is generalized for the entire population of the study. However, when it comes to the non-probability sampling method, commonly used in qualitative research, where the purpose of the study is to understand the in-depth and phenomenal understanding of the problem, and maybe having the objective to generate the hypothesis. But here the objective is not to generalize the outcome of the study for the entire population. So this is the comparative statement of the probability and non-probability sampling methods. These sampling methods definitely reduce the time period of the research, and they also give the cost effective measures to undertake the research. Therefore, such type of standardized scientific methods are must in the research. Therefore, researchers must take care of these sampling methods, what kind of research they are desired to conduct. Accordingly, they have to decide the sampling methods. Thank you one and all.